Welcome to Musings Television, where your host, Fabian, invites you to bloom with a new perspective that will encourage, uplift, and inspire. Here he is with today's musings.
Jamaica, land of beauty. Happy Emancipendence, Jamaica. Jamaica, land of beauty, we promise faithfully to serve thee with our talents and bring our gifts to thee. Jamaica, we will always, in honor of your name, break steadfastly and wisely, and never bring thee shame. From riverside to mountains, from green fields to the sea, our heart salutes Jamaica, triumphant, proud and free. Happy Emancipendence from Suzie Spring, and we are along the Woodford main road in East Rural St. Andrew. That's, I suppose you could say, Top Maryland Woodford. And here we have this beautifully decorated spot that I came across some time ago that I thought it fitting as we celebrate Emancipendence to capture and share with you on the other side of this video. Suzie Spring. So Jamaica at 60, is the glass half empty or half full? How do you see it? The national song that I just attempted to sing, I hope I wasn't crowing, says a lot about what Jamaica ought to be, or how Jamaica was envisioned at independence 60 years ago. And as we reflect on becoming 60, I think the questions or one of the questions that we have to ask ourselves at 60 is, how mature are we at 60? Are we truly living out, for example, the words of our national song? Are we truly exemplifying? Are we being the embodiment of the national pledge? And more so, our national anthem, which is also a prayer. We can see that there is evidence, visible evidence all around us in Jamaica, of how blessed we are by virtue of the national anthem, which asks our Father to bless our land, guide us with his mighty hand. We can see evidence of God being faithful to us in the words, in the prayer that we pray each time we sing our national anthem. But there are so many other areas of national life that we could be said to be failing. The one that is probably most evident for us as we turn 60 is our continued malaise in relation to crime and violence in our society. How are we embodying the words of the national pledge and the national song when we see the amount of violence in our nation? What are we doing individually, that man in the mirror, to make a change so that we are able to more demonstrate visibly and actively manifest the words of our pledge, our national song? The indiscipline in the society is another element that we need to tackle. Our governance structures, governance in its entirety probably, how we interact with each other as Jamaicans, how politics has divided us and continues to divide us, are things that we also need to reflect on and change if we are going to embody our national pledge or national song, if it's going to come to life for the next 60 years, for the next generation. These are things that we have to reflect on now and try to change. If we think of the fact that it is often said that we are to train up a child in the way that he or she must grow, and when they are old they won't depart from it, then we who are the current generation of leadership must begin to reflect on what it is that we are training the next generation to do. Are we training them to continue to follow in footsteps of failure where, for example, crime and violence is concerned in our society, the level of indiscipline in our society? What are we teaching them? What are they going to manifest for the next 60 years when Jamaica celebrates its 120th anniversary of independence? Will we still have these things to grapple with, or will they be transformed because we have become the more disciplined people and we have instilled that discipline in the next generation of leadership that is going to succeed us? Education is another thing that we have been talking about for many years. Transformation of education. There's a new report, the Pattison report on educational transformation. What will it be 60 years from now? Will we have transformed our educational system to realize, to manifest better outcomes for the future, so that the generation that is behind us will be able to step into leadership and jobs that will be relevant to the next generation, the next 60 decades that is ahead of us? Many of us will not survive to see the next 60 years. But what are the seeds that we are sowing now for the generation that is to come? The children that are in basic school, kindergarten, primary school, that are going to be the leaders of the next generation, the next 60 years. Are we planting seeds in them that are transformative seeds that will transform those ills that we now have to be dealing with and trying to be correcting? The crime, the violence, the corruption in government, lack of leadership in many different spheres of society. What are we doing? Jamaica at 60. are we seeking to transform and to plant in the next generation seeds that will bear better fruit? Fruit that is manifested in a much safer society, a more disciplined society, a society where truly Vision 2030, which maybe should become Vision 2060, to give us more time to really realize Jamaica to be the place to live, do business and raise families. Because can you and I see that coming to fruition in 2030? Can you imagine that's only 8 years from now? So as we celebrate Jamaica60, it's an inflection point. It's a point for reflection on where it is that we are 60 years on from 1962, August 6, 1962 to present, and where it is that we envision our society to be 60 years from now. Because as much as our prayer in the words of the national anthem have been fulfilled and continue to be fulfilled, because God has been faithful in blessing this country, can we say that we have been good stewards of the many blessings that we have been bestowed with for these past 60 years? And if not, what will we now do? You and I, everything starts with the man in the mirror. So what will you and I now do? What will we need to do to plant seeds of transformation so that 60 years from now, if by God's grace any of us are alive, to see Jamaica at 120 or even at 100, we can say that the seeds of transformation we have planted in 2022, as we celebrate Jamaica60, will bear fruit in the next 40 years to see a society that is truly reflective of the beauty that Jamaica truly is and represents across the world. In our music, you hear it playing over across the river. In our athletes who just did very well at the World Championships. In our icons that has graced the world and given the world so much. We talk about a Bob Marley. We talk about Louis Bennett, Coverley, and so many others that comes to mind. So at 60, how do you see Jamaica? Is Jamaica's glass half empty or half full? There's a lot of pessimism in our society, I know, because a lot of things aren't going right. But there are a lot of things that are indeed going right as opposed to going wrong. And I choose to see Jamaica at 60, or glass being half full as opposed to half empty. I encourage you to see Jamaica's glass as being half full, as opposed to half empty, as we celebrate our 60th year of independence. And as we look forward to our centenary 40 years from now, we hope that the glass will continue to accelerate towards being the full 100. Happy independence, happy Emancipendence, Jamaica. 1962, Jamaica, land of beauty. We promise faithfully to serve thee with our talents and bring our gifts to thee. Are we truly bringing our gifts to Jamaica? So many of our people leave our shores in search of betterment. So Jamaica, in a sense, is being deprived of many of our people's gifts because they have to go abroad to seek a better life. So our challenge really is to, in order to manifest Jamaica being the place to raise families, live and do business, is to have more of our human resource remain here on the rock, to build us up as opposed to going to other countries and building up other countries. Yes, we benefit from the remittances, but what if we were to be that country where instead of being beneficiaries of remittances, others have to come to us to work and send those funds elsewhere to other countries? What a transformation that would be for us, little Jamaica, at 60. So I think that is something that we can aspire to as we journey towards Jamaica at 100 and beyond. It's not beyond us. One of the other things I often reflect on is that people always say that Jamaica is hard. And as somebody who has been alive for over 4 decades, and from the time I have been taking in social events, current affairs, there's never been a time that I can remember that saying not being said, that Jamaica hard. And a thought came to me in that respect. It is said that we are to be careful what we speak sometimes, because there's always a thing of self-fulfilling prophecy. And it might seem probably trivial, but that is something that we have to also take into account. What are we speaking over Jamaica? We have for the past decades, I've always heard people saying that Jamaica is hard. Yes, it's difficult. Like anywhere else in the world, it is difficult. There's nowhere in the world that I would say that is easy. But let us speak more positively about our nation, Jamaica. Let us transform that consistent rhetoric that Jamaica is hard and difficult. Not to say that it's easy, but let us say that Jamaica is promising. That Jamaica is full of promise. That there's a great amount of bounty in our loins that are yet to be made manifest, to the extent that all our people can truly be beneficiaries of all that Jamaica truly has to offer and Jamaica's great potential. So, as I muse from Suzie Spring along the path of the Woodford Main Road in the Maryland area of St. Andrew, I would encourage you and I, as Jamaicans, as proud Jamaicans, as people who love Jamaica, as people who identify with the fact that no weather better than yard, and even when we go abroad and we make life, some of us, our people always come back to reside, to live, to die here, to be buried here, because this is home for them. This is home for us. Jamaica is like our mothers. We can never leave our mother's side, even when we become adults and lead our own lives. We always come back home to mom. Let's be good children to Jamaica as she celebrates her 60th, and as she journeys towards her centenary and beyond. Let us commit to be better children, to truly live our national pledge, and to truly live our national song, to give life to Jamaica, land of beauty. Happy Independence! Yep. Jamaica, land of beauty, we promise faithfully serve thee with our talents and bring our gifts to thee. Jamaica, we will always, in honor of thy name, work steadfastly and wisely, and never bring thee shame. From riverside to mountains, from cane fields to the sea, our hearts salute Jamaica, triumphant, proud and free.
There you have it, this week's musings. We hope you found it encouraging, inspiring, and uplifting. Let Fabian know your thoughts by leaving a comment on this video. Do spread the word and invite others to subscribe to Musings Television. Until next week, may your hearts remain ever joyful.